Hi, this is Alex from devstories.eu, Python Cheminformatics and AI, episode 20 of 22. Just because a generative AI spits out a specific molecule 10,000 times does not mean it is a viable drug. You might assume generation frequency indicates chemical quality or relevance. It does not. Those highly frequent outputs are often the chemical equivalent of a large language model hallucinating. The mechanism to resolve this is navigating de novo hallucinations using model likelihood. When you generate a massive library of 1 million smile strings from a fine-tuned chemical language model, you must decide which molecules to prioritize for prospective studies. A standard, flawed approach is simply selecting the designs the model outputs most often. This creates a count trap. Instead of discovering robust drug candidates, you end up extracting basic repetitive substructures like isolated benzene rings, simple amines, and basic ethers. These are recurring structural hallucinations. The model generates them constantly not because they are high quality, but because they are syntactically simple to construct. To expose and filter out these hallucinations, you evaluate your library using model likelihood. Likelihood is a metric that captures how well a generated sequence aligns with the probability distribution the model learned during training. For an autoregressive model, you compute this by multiplying the sampling probability of every individual token in the generated smile string. First, you calculate the likelihood score for all 1 million generated designs. Next, you sort the entire library based on these scores. Finally, you divide the sorted library into 10 equal groups, or deciles, ranging from the lowest likelihood to the highest. This is where it gets interesting. Analyzing these deciles reveals a strict exploitation-exploration tradeoff. The 10th decile contains the highest likelihood generations. These designs represent exploitation. They have extremely high chemical validity, and their generic Bemis-Merco scaffolds closely match the known active molecules from your training data. The model is heavily exploiting what it already knows works. The downside is that these top-tier designs lack novelty. They contain very few new substructures because the model is playing it safe. Moving down to the intermediate deciles, you hit a balance. Novelty and unique substructures peak in this middle range, while validity remains acceptable. But when you drop down to the first decile, the 10% of molecules with the absolute lowest likelihood scores, you hit the count trap. If you isolate the designs that the model generated more than 10 times across the entire million-molecule run, they almost all cluster in this bottom decile. They have incredibly low model likelihoods, yet they appear with massive frequency. Their structural similarity to your training set is terrible, and their overall chemical validity crashes. By binning your library this way, you prove mathematically that frequency is a false signal for quality. You can systematically drop the low-likelihood, high-frequency bins and focus your computational screening on the intermediate deciles where true chemical exploration happens. The most frequent outputs of a generative chemical model are often its worst, but filtering your library by likelihood deciles turns that noise into a precise map of where the model is exploring and where it is just hallucinating. That is all for this one. Thanks for listening and keep building.